Welcome back to the latest Weekend Warrior interview. I have to say, this is the fourth time I'm recording this. I'm having so many technical difficulties lately, but hopefully this one turns out okay. My latest interview is with Adrian Chiarella, who is the writer director of a new Australian horror movie called Leviticus, being released by Neon on June 19th, as well as the movie star Joe Bird, who you might remember from the Australian horror film Talk to Me a few years back. In the movie, Bird plays Name, who's a young lad who's brought to a new town by his very Christian mother, played by Mia Wasikowska. Once there, he meets a rugged kid named Ryan, who he starts hanging out with, played by Stacey Clausen. The two of them start roughhousing, and as what normally happens when young boys roughhouse, so they start making out, leads to other things, leads to sexual desires on both ends. But then Name sees Ryan with another boy who happens to be the son of the preacher, and he kind of rats on them. And that leads to a string of events where the two boys are brought to a deliverance preacher, played by Nicholas Hope, who basically his job is basically to use methods sort of like an exorcism to kind of rid young kids of any kind of homosexual desires. And instead, it leads to a very, very horrifying thing where the person who goes through this process sees the person they desire, but it's actually a demon who starts killing them in very gory and horrifying ways. It's a really good movie. One thing, there were some technical problems with this interview where you'll notice my mouth is kind of out of sync with the video for a little bit. I don't know what happened. I'm having issues with the company that does these junkets where the sound they give me is just not up to par. That was just one of the problems. I ended up having to go in and do a lot of extra editing and sound work to kind of make it work as good as it does. But hopefully that won't be a problem. Hopefully enjoy the interviews. Hopefully enjoy the movie. Again, it opens June 19th. And I'll talk to you later.
You like it here? What do you like about this place?
My mom wanted to move here. Stuck in this shithole.
So, there's nothing you like about this place?
Nothing. Indecency. Lust. Desire. It has to go now. Look at the light.
Welcome to the Weekend Warrior Show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to meet you guys. I really love this movie, and it seems like it started this wave of like Australian. Well, not started, but it's part of this wave of Australian horror, which Joe has now been a part of a few times, if you can call it a way. But it kind of can be traced back to Jennifer Kent's The Babadook, which the Philip who's worked on as well. Let's talk about Adrian first, about like what came up with this idea, what made you want to make a horror movie in this setting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great tradition, the Australian horror movies, and they go way back. I mean, Wolf Creek, and you can go right back to Wake and Fright and all those classic Australian movies. We always love drawing on our very unique landscape and then kind of internalizing it into psychological fear. It's a really, really fun thing that we do, and we didn't want to shy away from it. I mean, I wanted to make a film about homophobia because there had just been, I'd noticed seemingly this regression in a lot of our rights in the LGBTQIA plus community lately, and a lot of toxic things, sort of toxic rhetoric in the political sphere. And I wanted to tap into my childhood love of horror movies to do that, because horror films, they're the genre of fear. They're always about making the audience ask, what really makes you scared? And so it made sense to put those two things together. And when I dug into it, I came up with this idea of a monster, a horror movie monster that takes the form of the person you desire the most, because I felt that was really what was going on with all these acts of homophobia and these sort of coercive practices. It was about trying to scare young queer people out of their feelings.
Now, Joe, you just had this breakout role in Talk to Me. As a viewer or as an actor, are you drawn to horror movies in general, or was it just like the story or Adrian convinced you to do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for me anyways, I film talked to me about 4 years ago, so it does feel like quite a long time, and I've, definitely grown as a person, and, I've also done other genres. I filmed a Western and a kind of black comedy short film, which also went to Sundance, and I have a few things in the mix coming up. So I think, yeah, like it's not necessarily that, I'm sticking to this horror genre, but I think what's really great about horror is that you can kind of have social and political commentary, and kind of disguise it under this like scary thing, so that you can kind of heighten a situation and then confront an audience to kind of really look at what you're trying to say.
Let's talk about Stacy, because he's kind of like the other half of this, and he kind of, I think in some ways he has to do some of the more heavy lifting because he's playing almost two roles in some ways.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he is playing two
Adrian,
roles.
can you talk about casting him, and Joe, can you talk about working with him?
Yeah, I mean, Stacey's someone who he's done a bit of TV in Australia, and I knew he was an actor that, despite his age, he sort of really brought a lot of skill and experience, and that I knew he could pull off that dual role. But I mean, as soon as I saw him and Joe together doing scenes in the callbacks, I think we all, myself and our producers, we just saw it. We saw this undeniable connection between the two of them, and we knew we could build the chemistry that these two characters needed to have out of that. And so that was a big part of why we put them together, and it was also a big part of the rehearsal process, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he's like just such a great person and actor, and he was very vulnerable and, open to like the thing is with acting in general, it's like you can't give a good performance if your scene partner isn't connecting and allowing you to. So it's like, everything, it's just you work together on those things. So yeah, Stacey, he's great. He's an amazing actor, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Mia playing a parent of a teenager. I mean, we kind of know her from The Kids Are All Right, where she played a teenager with lesbian mothers. So I was also like,
yeah.
and I was like, boy, how does like that time fly by that fast that she's a mother now? You talk about like casting her and she getting involved as a producer.
I mean, I saw some of the recent independent films that she'd done, things like Bergman Island and Club Zero, yeah, and just realized, she's at that stage in her life now where she could do this. She also just brings on a lot of like background, like you just see her on screen, and before she even says a word,
she's just so magnetic.
And you just get the weight of history in her characters, and I knew we needed that because. This character, all of the parents in the film, they don't really get subplots, they don't get scenes on their own, they're just kind of there in these moments with the teenage characters who are really the focus of the film. And so I knew I needed someone like Mia who could bring the history of this character on screen with her, and all of that backstory and all that understanding of why she'd brought herself to this point in her life, to this town.
Yeah, and like not only is Mia just like a really great actor as well, but she's just such a great person as well.
She's awesome. Yeah. A really great presence on set for everybody.
Hey, Joe, you'd seen her in other things beforehand before you
I love Stoker, and I think I never actually told her this because I didn't want to, like, it was kind of embarrassing, but I remember Alice Through the Looking Glass being like one of the first films I watched in a cinema. So like that was pretty cool. But I think Mia is she's an inspiration for me as an actor. I think it's really cool that she really decides what she wants to do in her career, and I think that's really inspiring and cool. Yeah.
This film takes place in clearly like a more rural part of Australia, but has this cool, like, it has the electrical tower and it has a lot of cool environments. Can you talk about like where you shot this and why you shot it there?
It wasn't one specific town. We kind of scouted a lot of different places across the state of Victoria, where I live in Australia. And that's because the team, the DP and the production designer and we had a really specific vision for the palette of the world. So we spent months location scouting and getting in cars and driving around and talking about different spaces and talking about whether or not the places would be, first of accessible and how easy they'd be to shoot in. Some of them were a real challenge. And then there were some houses that, I mean, you think, you make a film where you think a house is going to be the easiest part to find, but some of the houses, we just had such a specific vision in mind. And it was just a very hardworking team amongst the locations and the art department that just made it all come together.
Yeah, what's the significance of the title Leviticus? I mean, I have to say that my Bible study is kind of rusty. So obviously, I know that reference, but I don't think I know the specifics of it.
Well, yeah, it's the book in the Bible that makes reference to, well, that claims that homosexuality is sort of outlawed in the laws of their religion. But it's something that I think if you're a young queer person growing up, particularly in almost any Western culture, it gets sort of mentioned to you at some point. And it was certainly something I remembered from my childhood. At one point, there was a scene in the film where you and Leslie's character, the pastor, did give a speech where he kind of explained and quoted that part of the Bible. But quite late in the edit, we realized it's just too preachy and it was just over-explaining things a little.
I saw this at New Directors back in March, and then I saw it again this morning, actually, a room full of critics, which is interesting, especially to watch them jump in certain sections. They really got freaked out.
Even the critics did they? They jumped.
Oh my God! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! You know, there definitely were moments where, like, when he picks up the steel thing, someone was like, "Oh no!" Ah. But it's did you just study horror movies or study them to kind of like when you went into this to kind of like know what freak people out?
It's so funny. I loved this genre as a kid. I've always loved watching them, but as a filmmaker, I always felt there were other filmmakers that were more the expert in this genre. I always felt there were other people that knew it better than I did. But I definitely, in preparing for the film, I went back and rewatched and
you sent me a bunch of films to watch as well.
Yeah, exactly. And thought about the horror movies that I really, really wanted to draw on. And they were all from all different times and places and eras. Like I love classic John Carpenter horror movies like The Thing. I love Japanese horror movies like The Original Ring and the Kiyoshi Kurosawa films like Cure and Pulse. And yeah, just different horror movies from different parts of the world. Yeah. So I think I've always had a broad taste in horror as well. I think that kind of helped.
It was almost kind of like you gave me like a lot of kind of films to watch, and I think I gave you some music to listen to.
Like
the vibe
exactly.
I was thinking of. Yeah.
So we went back and forth a bit.
Back and forth, yeah. Just two creatives trying to spitball, you know.
Yeah.
Since it's wrapped a while ago, have you guys been working on anything else since this played at Sundance, or?
I've been doing a little bit of writing, but it's been sort of distracting having the film come out, so I need to sort of go away when all this is over and focus. But you've been doing lots of films.
I mean, I filmed this satirical kind of Gen Z thriller. It's called Crash Out. I got to go blonde for that, which was like really fun. It's starring Catherine Lagaya. She's playing Moana. That comes out next month, so get hyped for that. And yeah, I'm really excited for that one to come out. So that'll be next year, I think.
Cool. Yeah. Listen, great meeting you guys. Thanks a lot for your time. I hope people go see this movie. By the way, for some reason I thought that they went after the Deliverance Healer. In my mind, when I was watching this morning, I was like, oh yeah, they're totally gonna go after that guy. And kind of interesting that I remembered a part of the movie that never actually happened.
Well, maybe there'll be a version where they do. Who knows?
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan, you okay? You see anything that looks like me? Don't go near it.
It comes when no one else is around.
Nothing can make it stop. Open it!
It's gonna kill him! This is what they wanted.
They wanted us to be scared.